Hello everyone, TLSG here, back again with another daily Marvel Snap video. So today we have a build from WWLOS. We played his good card value deck a couple of days ago, and this is the one that he hit infinite with this season. And so far it has performed very well. Now it does do pretty decently into Thanos if you can avoid getting leeched. If you think that they're going to ramp up into a leech, if you think they're going to drop it, you want to play your Killmonger and curve it out a little bit earlier, your Shang-Chi a little bit earlier. It's just risky to hold it until the last turn, unless you don't see signs of leech. And so if you don't, then you can do your Sera so that you can curve into all of that burst of power like a normal Sera Tech Deck. And the cool thing about this one is that there are a lot of really good ways to disrupt the opponent. The rock slide giving 2 rocks is already really good. If you hit one of those key locations, the Vibranium Mines, the Lechugia, Subterranea, your Hawk is going to be insane value. And since we're typically not going to show signs like Korg, Black Widow, they might not anticipate the Hawk as much as they would have otherwise. We do have the Scarlet Witch to change locations in our favor. Polaris is one of those sneaky cards right now. So a lot of times, a Shuri list is going to try to hide their cards behind an armor lane. And so you can use this if that is one of their only low-cost cards. You can use Polaris to pull that armor out of that location, making it Shang-Chi-able. There was a debate in the last video about what's proper. You're able to use Shang-Chi on whatever big resource they drop there. And then as far as Thanos, the Killmonger takes out a lot of those stones, and then you're also pushing good value and good power onto the board in your Hawk and just everything else that you're throwing. Sometimes you're going to be able to set up a good arrow play. Sometimes you're just curving out as much power as you can, where you can. And so overall the deck list has run incredibly well. I jumped up a couple of ranks while I was testing it, while I was recording videos, and so it is definitely one that I think you could climb with fairly well and fairly consistently if you have Zabu and if you have Hawk. And so with the brief deck explanation out of the way, we're going to go ahead and jump over into a couple of games. I hope you guys enjoy. Alright, first up we have Check, Call, Any. The first location is the Icebox. It hits our Hawk, which I guess is okay. Typically we don't play it on 4 or 3 with Zabu. We usually hold it for a little while. So we are going to play our Nova while we try to figure out what kind of deck they're running. So they're not running a Thanos list, so it very well could be a Shuri deck. The 2 most common offenders right now are Thanos and Shuri. And so until we get a new balance patch, until we get maybe Master Mold shakes things up, but until then, that's usually about all that you see. So we're going to go ahead and play Zabu into the Onslaught Citadel. That's going to allow us to play our Hawk quite a bit cheaper. Our Rock Slide is going to be very cheap, especially if we get a Sera as well. So I'm thinking we're going to play both Sentinel and Lizard here. Our Hawk is 3. We can play it into the middle location to get a lot of value there. We also have Polaris if they play a 1 or a 2 cost card in Mojo World to pull it out. Now they use Enchantress on our Zabu, and they use it relatively early, and so we're actually, I think we're okay with that. I'm okay with that. I'm gonna go ahead and cap out the Mojo World location, and then we can just lean into maybe a Hawk on the last turn, unless we get something better. Wow, so they do flood a lot of cards here. This is a Sera Tech deck. They don't have Sera because this is Mysterio and then something else, which they have the nice gold foiled background Mysterio. I'm not sure which one to do the hard ice to, but that one right before he gets eaten. They do play Nova in the right lane, so we can guarantee that that is not going to stay capped out. They now have initiative. I think what we can do is we can play we can't play both. Can't play Shang-Chi and Killmonger. We didn't have great positioning, but they do end up retreating. I was going to probably end up doing Sentinel and Killmonger on the left lane. Either that or we just fully lean in to the Hawk in mid, expecting them to not be able to cap out Mojo World, and if they could, hoping that it wasn't enough to beat what we already had. And so we are going to take our 1 cube. Let's go ahead and jump over into the next one. Alright, next up we have It HS Maze, Ith's Maze, It High School Maze. We have some kind of maze. The first location is Stark Tower. We're going to go ahead and play quite a few of our cards there. We can play our Sentinel early. Maybe we change it with a Scarlet Witch, depending on what the last location is, and depending on if it looks like we're going to get outpaced. Now, they have the black and white Psylocke. So since they ramped up, is this a Mr. Negative deck maybe? Since they ramped up on 2, I mean, it could still be Galactus and they just have Electro or Wave, and so they didn't have something better to play. So no, it is a Mr. Negative, and they have him black and white as well. My goodness, the amount of dedication to this Mr. Negative deck is unreal. We get a lot of value from our Hawk here because of Subterranea. The only time I like to see Subterranea is whenever we have Hawk in hand. So we are going to be able to do like a 4 and then the Lizard as well. So I think we play our Rock Slide to the left. We're angling to maybe win this location depending on what they pump there. The Ironheart is definitely not ideal. Maybe it's the Silver Surfer. Maybe it's the Bast Psylocke Silver Surfer style build. I'm going to play Scarlet Witch and Lizard. Actually, we don't need to change that location. I don't think we play Scarlet Witch unless there's a specific reason we want to change the location. So we're just going to play Sentinel again. We can still do the Sentinel on the last turn. We have the Lizard in the right lane. We have the really big Hawk that's going to come down. They extend the game with magic to draw some additional cards here. Usually that's relatively okay. Oh, wait. We kept Scarlet Witch in hand. This is beautiful. So if they hold their cards until the very last turn, that's going to be unfortunate for them. I think we can just sneak the win by changing Limbo and then playing our Hawk there to make sure that we have the lead after all is said and done. Right now we have a decent lead in Stark Tower, a decent lead in Clintar. If I was them, I'd probably hold my best resources for the last turn. So I do want to snap, but I don't want to BM them. So we're just going to let it play out like normal. We're going to change that right lane, and that should give us a very easy win here. Danger Room. Oh my gosh. Danger Room almost blew it for us. We should have ordered it a little bit differently. That was very close. So they have the Angel that's black and white. They have the Iron Man that's black and white. I mean, they're probably pretty close to Ironheart. It doesn't look like they're close to Magic, though. Beautiful deck. Beautiful deck maze. We almost choked with the Hawk. We will order it better next time. When changing a location, just in case it switches into Death's Domain, Altar of Death, anything that is subpar, you want to play your cards that you want to stick first. Alright, next up we have Dingus, and Dingus just did us the favor and leeched us, so we retreated our last game. Maybe we can do better this time. Sakaar pulls into our arrow, it pulls into their Reality Stone, so they get an additional draw, but we get some additional power. I don't know if that's a good trade-off. We no longer have the ability to pull their cards where we want them to after the fact. And so, okay, so they play the Power Stone, we play Lizard, we get a decent amount of power, the Soul Stone in the right lane. We're hoping that this is an unadvantageous location, and Titan could be better, could be worse. I'm going to play us into mid. We're going to pull one of their one-cost cards over, ideally getting it a little bit closer to being capped out. If they play a Time Stone here, then we have to watch out for the leech on the next turn. And so then we lean in with like Rock Slide as our next turn play. They do only play one card though. And okay, so it's Lockjaw. Interesting. We just allowed them to rotate one additional card. Not our most shining moment. We're going to go ahead and play, I guess, Rock Slide into the left lane. I'm weary of a Shang-Chi in mid. With Shuri's Lab, it's just so easy to just Shang-Chi in mid. So we do play Rock Slide. We keep that power on the board, luckily. And now we can start pushing some additional things. The Tony Hawk Pro Skater is huge. I think because we're so afraid of a leech, we are going to go ahead and play Hawk on the board. Now, the bad thing is that will hit our Shang-Chi if leech comes down. So we don't know for sure. There's the leech. Depending on what this flips into, the Shang-Chi might have been okay, it might have been bad. The Quinjet is great. The Quinjet is great for us to have flipped into. We pull into Zabu. Unfortunately, that is not Killmonger. We haven't seen Killmonger the last 2 games. Same thing with our Sera. They've been vibing at the bottom of our deck. We're gonna lock in the right lane. We know Shang-Chi is already in the right lane. Magneto. Oh, pull. Oh no. Well, They have to flip into a dud here. That's actually decent for us. Wow. That rotation into Killmonger threw the game for them. We almost donated 4 cubes, staying whenever we were just hoping to outpower them with our Hawk. Sometimes you'll take luck. We really need the Killmonger in our Thanos match to be able to make it feel winnable. And luckily for us, they did that by themselves. All right, next up we have Mog K. The first location is Kunlun. We're not going to move any of our cards over there. We're not going to play Polaris over there. We're not going to play Arrow. Sakaar is an interesting one. We're going to go ahead and play Zabu. We kind of hope that it pulls into one of these two and leaves our Shang-Chi because we don't know what the opponent is running. They don't have... Ooh, it's a Patriot list. And it does get the good flip of the Rock Slide. We know that they're probably not going to be running Shang-Chi. Probably not a Killmonger, which we will have, hopefully. I haven't seen Killmonger the last 3 games. I'm starting to think it maybe doesn't exist, but we're hoping that it does. The Patriot comes down. If they're running the version that runs Super Scroll, then our Hawk is a lot less impactful because it's just not... They will get quite a bit of value from it as well. But we don't know. We don't know that that's what they're running or if that's what they're running. I'm going to play a Sentinel and Lizard to the left. We do have Hawk, so we could try to angle on the last turn into a Hawk and a Shang-Chi. We're going to get close to emptying our hand here so that we can limit the space that they have to play. So they snapped on this last turn after the Patriot came down. So knowing that we're not going to be running a Leech, I think is what gave them that confidence. They might have the Super Scroll and they know that we have Hawk potentially, but I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if that's what it ends up being. Killmonger is going to be great. One of these days we're going to see Killmonger. We haven't seen Sera or Killmonger the last 4 games now. Either one or the other. And we definitely don't want to see Sera now. It's just a little bit too late. But we'll see. So the blue Marvel does come down. It buffs up the rest of their lanes. I willed it into existence, didn't I? Well, snapped, so I assume they have a strong finisher. Really just about anything would be able to do it for them. We willed the Sera into existence on turn 6. Let's go ahead and jump over into the next one, see if we can do a little bit better. All right. Next up we have Mr. Slantastic. So I'm taking that as they may be tilted. They are running Thanos, so let's see. I mean, we have Killmonger. It finally showed up. But we have to worry about the potential leech. So we will probably curve out our Killmonger earlier rather than saving it for a last turn burst play. So the Reality Stone comes down, changes the middle location to Atlantis. Let's keep an eye on what other stones they play. If we see Time Stone on 3, it's a potential problem. If we see it on 2, not so much an issue. So we don't have to worry about Leech this turn unless the Raft just turns into something absurd. I'm going to use Scarlet Witch in the right lane. They probably can flood it. And so we either try to defend that with a Killmonger or with the Scarlet Witch by just changing the location. And so they snapped on us. They probably, Lockjaw and a card? Murder World is rough. We will take it. We were going to destroy all of those 1-cost cards anyways, but what are the odds? They can't do Leech this turn either. So I think we're just going to play our Polaris. We're going to start pushing some power onto the board. We can do Polaris. Next turn we can do Sentinel and Killmonger. If they just play Leech, that is going to be a really low tempo play. We should be able to set up for an Arrow after that. And so let's see, the She-Hulk comes down. That is big. That is a large She-Hulk. Do we think they have Leech? It's always the question. If they don't, Sera, I think, is probably the right call. If they do, Shang-Chi might be. It's going to clear more power than our Killmonger at this point. But it's also on a weird curve. So, ooh, they do play the Leech, and so it's a super low tempo play. We do get a good read that they're going to have the Leech. So let's see what they can do from here. Most of their stones are already on the board or destroyed. They don't have Quinjet. That got destroyed. Let's see what all they can make happen. I think we're just going to do something like this. We're going to push 6 power to the right, see if we can... Yeah, we do get the 2-cube retreat after the unfortunate Murder World for them and the fortunate Shang-Chi into their Leech play. Had they had Lockjaw, that would have been a much different story. They could have rotated it. They would have been able to enable a lot more power. But without the combination of those cards, we were able to maintain and manage. Let's go ahead and jump over into the next one. All right, next up we have that smug mug. Technically it's the smug mug, but look at it. That's just so smug. So the first location is Baxter Building. We have our Lizard, Sentinel, Scarlet Witch, all really decent resources. We have our Sera, which is also another good one. They're running a Thanos list. So do we want to just early change the cloning vats maybe? I feel like that's going to be an area of problem, especially if they have a lockjaw that they end up playing there. If they have the time stone, I just don't want them to get those additional draws. So it turns into Elysium, but they come in to the rescue with the Reality Stone, and they change it as well. So now we do have our Killmonger. Depending on if they do Time Stone this turn or not, if they do Time Stone, then we're going to drop Killmonger. We're going to drop it ahead of Curve, but it's the Lockjaw. So unless they get lucky and they rotate into their leech, we should be fine to hold Killmonger for at least one more turn here. Let's play our Zabu. I'm going to play Lizard to the left. We're going to play Zabu into mid. The reason we're doing Lizard to the left is if we can drop our Killmonger on maybe the last turn, then we can just make sure that this is cleared. They're going to rotate their Power Stone. Okay, Sunspot, that's great. We can destroy that. Time Stone, they will have 6 energy on this upcoming turn into a She-Hulk. She-Hulk is big, but we can clear these two. That gives us a little bit of solace. Do they have Leech here? Is the big burning question in my mind. I don't know. I don't know if they do or not. If we do Sera on the last turn, we can play a lot of our resources. We're going to gamble. We're going to hope they don't have it. Mind Stone, Devil Dino. Okay. They don't have it, thankfully. Our Sera comes down. We can now look to strategically drop the last of our power. So, Arrow. Arrow is interesting, but not interesting enough. Let's do the Rock Slide. The Killmonger will clear these two. That leaves them at 12, but it's going to push us back up by at least 3 more because of the Lizard, plus the 3 from the Killmonger. And then we play Sentinel in mid. We're just hoping that that is enough to win this location. Now, they might drop an arrow into the throne room just to pull us away from that location. If they do, it is what it is. Okay, so they play 2 cards. Blue Marvel, that's pretty big. And then Power Stone. Decently big, but we're going to have the Killmonger to clear it. So we should easily win the left lane. We should easily keep the win in the middle location, especially after swinging Baxter Building in our favor. And so we do lock in the 3rd or 4th Thanos win with the deck during this showcase. And then also performs pretty well against Shuri and just about everything else that you're seeing in the meta. So we're going to go ahead and end the video here. If you liked it, make sure to leave it a like and a comment down below. And as always, this has been TLSG. Later, guys.